God, grace, serenity, to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And to read who is an addict for us and what is Narcotics Anonymous program is Marshall from New York City.
Marshall, I'm an addict. Who's an addict? Most of us do not think twice about this question, we know. Our whole life in thinking is centered in drugs in one form or another. They're getting and using and finding ways and means to get more. We live to use and we use to live and live to use. Very simply, an addict is a man or woman whose life is controlled by drugs. We are people in a grip of continuing and progressive illness whose ends are always the same: jails, institutions, and death. What is the NA program? NA is a non-profit fellowship of society of men and women for whom drugs have become a major problem. We're recovered addicts who meet regularly to help each other stay clean. This is a program of complete abstinence from all drugs. There's only one requirement for membership: the honest desire to stop using. There are no musts in NA, but we suggest that you keep an open mind and give yourself a break. Our program has a set of principles written so simply that we can follow them in our daily lives. The most important thing about them is that they work. There are no strings attached to NA. We are not affiliated with any other organizations. We have no leaders, no initiation fees or dues, no pledges to sign, no promises to make to anyone. We're not connected with any political, religious, or law enforcement groups, and are under no surveillance at any time. Anyone may join us regardless of age, race, color, creed, religion, or lack of religion. We are not interested in what or how much you have used, or who your connections were, what you have done in the past, how much or how little you have, but only what you want to do about your problem and how we can help. The newcomer is the most important person in any meeting, because we only keep what we have by giving it away. We have learned from our group experience that those who keep coming to our meetings regularly stay clean.
Thank you, Marshall. And to read what is Narcotics Anonymous, or no, excuse me, to read why we are here is Mike.
My name is Mike. I'm a drug addict. Why are we here? Before coming to the fellowship of NA, we could not manage our own lives. We could not live and enjoy life as other people do. We had to have something different, and we thought we found it in drugs. We placed their use ahead of the welfare of our families, our wives, husbands, and our children. We had to have drugs at all costs. We did many people great harm, but most of all, we harmed ourselves. Through our inability to accept personal responsibilities, we were actually creating our own problems. We seemed to be incapable of facing life on its own terms. Most of us realized that in our addictions, we were slowly committing suicide, but such cunning enemies of life are narcotics and sedation that we had lost the power to do anything about it. Jail did not help us at all. Medicine, religion, psychiatry seemed to have no answers for us that we could use. All these methods have failed for us. In desperation, we sought help from each other in Narcotics Anonymous. After coming to NA, we realized we were sick people who suffered from a disease like alcoholism, diabetes, or tuberculosis. There is no known cure for these. All, however, can be arrested at some point, and recovery is then possible. In NA, we follow a program borrowed from Alcoholics Anonymous. In the last 40 years, more than 1 million people have recovered in AA, most of them just as hopelessly addicted to alcohol as we were to drugs. We are deeply grateful to the AA Fellowship for pointing the way for us to a new way of life.
And to read how it works for us is Gene from Queens.
My name is Gene. I'm an addict and alcoholic. How it works. If you want what we have to offer and are willing to make the effort to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. These are suggested only, but they are the principles that made our recovery possible. 1, we admitted we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, we humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of those steps, we tried to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs. This sounds like a big order, and we can't do it all at once. We didn't become addicted in one day, so remember, easy does it. There is one thing more than anything else that will defeat us in our recovery. This is an attitude of indifference or intolerance towards spiritual principles. Although there are no musts in NA, there are 3 things that seem indispensable. These are honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness to try. With these, we are well on our way. We feel that our approach to the problem of addiction is completely realistic, for the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is without parallel. We feel that our way is practical, for one addict can best understand and help another addict. We believe that the sooner we face our problems within our society in everyday living, just that much faster do we become acceptable, responsible, and productive members of that society. The only way to keep from getting or continuing a habit is not to take that first fixed pill or drink. If you are like us, you know that 1 is too many and 1,000 never enough. We put great emphasis on this, for we know that when we use drugs in any form or substitute one for another, we release our addiction all over again or create a new one. The substitution of alcohol has caused a great many addicts to form a new addiction pattern, which in its progression brings as many problems as before. We seem to forget that alcohol is one of the oldest known drugs. It would appear that we are people with addictive personalities who are strongly susceptible to alcoholic addiction.
And to read the 12th editions for us is Mike B. from Manhattan.
My name is Mike and I'm an addict. We keep what we have only with vigilance, and just as freedom for the individual comes from the 12 steps, so freedom for the group springs from our traditions. As long as the ties that bind us together are stronger than those that would tear us apart, all will be well. 1. Our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on NA unity. 2. For our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as He may express Himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. 4. Each group should be autonomous, except in matters affecting other groups, or NA as a whole. 5. Each group has but one primary purpose, to carry the message to the addict who still suffers. 6. An NA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the NA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, or prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7. Every NA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8. Narcotics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9. NA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10. NA has no opinion on outside issues, hence the NA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11. Our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. 12. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. Thank you.
We'd like to remind you about our 11th tradition. Our public relation policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We always maintain personal anonymity at the level of the press, radio, and films. So please, no pictures be taken during this meeting. Okay? Now I have a whole bunch of announcements here that were given to me at the last minute, and I hope I get them all right for you. All right? Now these are meetings that are going to take place that are not on your program. So if you hear something that you're interested in, please write it down because you won't find it there. The World Service, the WCNA Way Subcommittee is going to meet at 12 midnight in room 941. The WHI Committee is going to meet tomorrow, and where they will meet will be posted in the program room. So if you're interested, go to the program room and they'll tell you where to go. There's going to be an international meeting at 11 p.m. and it's important that all World Service or foreign country members please attend. And it's going to be held in the St. Paul and Barnum room, and it's a closed meeting for those people only. There's going to be a World Convention Business meeting, and it's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be at 2 p.m. and it's going to be in the program room. The bid meeting is going to be tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, and it's going to be held here in this room. It's going to take place between 9 and 10:40, and all people who want to vote on that must be in the room before 10:40, and the doors will close, and everybody in the room is going to be entitled to one vote. All right, so if you want to bid on where the convention is going to go next year or hear about it and take place in it, be here tomorrow. The World Service Finance Committee is going to meet in room 1135 right after this meeting. All right, and we have raffles that are going for $1 apiece, and they're for WCNA13. It's going to be for next year's World Convention. It's going to include your airfare to wherever the convention is going to be held, and it's going to include the total package of the convention. It's not going to include your hotel room. That you're going to have to go for yourself. And they're for $1 apiece, and you're to see Carmelita or see Sal. They're selling these raffles, and it's going to be the raffle's going to be picked tomorrow night at the banquet. All right? And now for the good news. All right? Now, this is at 4 o'clock this afternoon. As of 4 o'clock this afternoon, we have 1,220 people registered here. Now, this is an impossible dream here. We got 1,722 years and 10 months and 6 days sitting in this room right now. And if you want a breakdown on that, I had somebody that's a little insane. He had nothing better to do with his spare time but figure that out. That's 21,264 months, 657,907 days, 15,770,328 hours, 946,219,680 minutes. I'd like to give that man a hand for figuring that all out. That's what you call tolerance and patience. My name's Larry, and I'm an addict, and I'll tell you, I'm starting to feel really good. You know, for quite a while here, I was feeling a little tight, a little upset, not upset, but a little tense and nervous, and, you know, just wanting everything to go right, not knowing if people were enjoying themselves, and I mean, now I feel that everybody's enjoying themselves because I feel I'm enjoying myself now. And I really want to thank everybody for coming, you know, and helping this impossible dream come true to me, you know, and helping it come true to everybody here that needs it. You know, and there's an awful lot of people that I'm grateful to that are here tonight, you know. They know who they are. And, you know, they helped me get through my rough times in sobriety, helped me get sober, helped me stay sober, you know. I know after this convention, what I've gone through here, that, you know, the man upstairs, he really runs the whole show, you know, and no matter how we try to fix things to come out right, and we always tend to screw them up, you know, it all seems to work out, and everything just keeps going, and everything just keeps wheeling off the way it's supposed to, you know, because I'm seeing it happen right before my eyes here, you know, and I'm experiencing it at this convention. You know, I've experienced it before, you know, but, you know, every once in a while, you know, you take them reins back and you think you're doing fine. But I'm really feeling how, you know, my higher power works here at this convention and how things just falling into place for me, you know. And I'd like to introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker is a lady that, you know, I don't know, but, you know, I can feel that she has a powerful message, you know, and I felt that before when I gave her a hug up here, you know, because I was nervous up here. And when I gave her a hug, just the way she grabbed me, you know, it was like a bear hug here. You know, it just seemed to settle me down a little. So I'd like to introduce Dorine from Washington, D.C.
Everybody stand up for me. Everybody just stand up for me. Turn to the person on your right, tell them I care and I love you. Give them a hug. Now turn to everybody on your left, tell them I care and I love you. Much of this. I can't stand too much of it anyway. I'll tell you like this. I'm going to tell you one thing from the get-go. I had to come up here with something on to give y'all, you know, a little sunshine. But now I'm getting ready to take them off because I'm getting ready to get down. Dorine, and I'm a very grateful recovering alcoholic and drug addict. And it's good to be here tonight. It's a privilege to be here tonight. It's a joy to be here tonight. And I thank God for having me here tonight. I remember the first time that I ever come to New York. I was about 17 years old. And I started using drugs right after my kid was born. And I came up here, not knowing anything about the Big Apple and the fast life. And I got busted up here, scared to death. And the fellows that I come up here with, they'd give me the stuff, and I had pounded between my legs, like, you know. And the police had been watching us all the time. And they come out and jumped out on us. And they took me, because they knew that I'd had the stuff. Well, they gave me a float out of town and told me not to ever come back to New York anymore unless I intend to do right. But before they give me a float out of town, they used me. Them police used me, and I mean they used me good that night. And me not knowing, I was so happy that they was using me just to get out of here and not get the fuck back in here no more. I can't say that this is the first time that I've been back to New York since I've been sober, because I've been back several times since I've been clean. But to give you a little bit about myself, I was born and raised in Washington. I started using drugs at a very early age, right after my son was born, which was when I was 16 years old. And I left home at a very early age. I was sick and a mixed-up kid. I didn't know what was wrong with me. There's 5 of us out of my family. I got a sister and brother older and a sister and brother younger. And I was the knee-high one, the one in between. And my mom knew there was always something wrong with this middle child. But nobody could understand really what was wrong. I didn't even understand my goddamn self. All I knew is that I was twisted up, messed up. But today, as I look back over my life and I take inventory of my life, I can see some of the things that happened to me when I was young. At the age of 8 years old, I was accused of being raped. And at that time, I did not get raped. But I know today the humility that I went through with at that time is what began my life on the shambles like it was. I remember the police coming and they took me to the hospital, examining me and everything, and they found out that nothing had happened to me. But after that, I remember trying to go out and play as I was a kid, and little boys would pull at me and make dirty gestures. People would point at me and say, there go that little girl that so-and-so raped. People didn't want their kids to play with me or anything. I don't want you with that little fresh ass wimp. And I found myself withdrawing at a very, very early age. At the age of 12 or 13 I did get raped. And that was a very brutal, brutal rape. And I know today why I didn't say anything to my mom and them about it. It's because I just did not want to go back through that humility that I had went through before. When I got in my teens, when I was small, I was real chubby and fat. And I began to lose that fat, chubby fatness when I began to get in my teens and the womanhood. Well, I'm still kind of chubby now, but that's all right, you know. And by that time, I was just marked, you know, of being a very fast child, no good, this and that. And I used to hear all this shit. And I got on a bit. I began to act like, fuck it. You know, I don't give a damn what they wanted me to do. I would do the goddamn opposite, you know. Whatever they say sit, I'd stand. If they say stand, I'd sit, you know. And like I said, I got pregnant at a very, very early age. After my son was born and I had a child, this told me I was a woman. It was nothing. Nobody could tell me anymore. God damn it, I'm a woman with child, so ain't nothing you can tell me. And the first time, now that I look back over my life, I can hear, let go and let God. I remember my mother telling me, you got to go. And she threw her hands up there and she said, Lord, take her. There's nothing else I can do. And that started me out on my bend of hell. And it went on for over 20-some odd years. In and out of jails, various institutions, hospitals, name it, I've been there. Ask me what I've done. I've prostituted. I've done a little bit of everything. Anything that you even got on your mind you think I done, I claim that. It's all right. Because you see, I knew I was a very, very sick child, a sick woman. And like I said, this went on for 20-some odd years. At the age of 33, I had gone down to be as low as any woman cared to get. I was nothing but a slime. That's just how low I had gotten. I couldn't stand on the corner with the girls anymore and hustle and look right, because that's just how low I had got down. I had to go through the alleys, them things, take a trick for $1 if I could. That's just how low I had begun to get. I was so sick, I remember going up to visit my mom them one day, and I think it was during one of the holidays, Easter, Thanksgiving, or one day like that. And I went up there and I knocked on the door, and when I walked in, all these people were in there, and they was laughing and talking, and all of a sudden, everybody, the whole house got quiet, you know. And my mom looked at me, and she run to me, and she grabbed me, and you want something to eat, or they getting ready to fix me everything? And I said, well, everything's all right. She said, well, I'll fix your plate, you go upstairs and take a bath, you know. And I went upstairs and got in the bath, and I looked around in my room and everything, tried to find some clothes to put on, when no clothes fit me. And on the bed, I saw a skirt and a blouse. And I went and I put this skirt and blouse on and come downstairs, and you know how we is when we all fucked up and shit. I'm all back downstairs looking around at everybody, you know, like, hey, I'm all right, you know. As soon as I got down to the bottom of the step, my little sister screamed. My younger sister, which was grown at the time, she screamed, oh my God, and started crying. I said, what the hell's wrong with her? I mean, this is just how sick we is, you know. I looked like death. And I had on my niece's skirt and blouse. I think she was about 7 or 8. That's just how bad I was looking. And I could not understand what the hell was going on with them crazy-ass people. And naturally, like we all do, get attitudes when we go home, you know, and we think we all right or slick, you know. I ain't coming to this damn house no more. So I raced out the door all crazy and simple and everything. And by the way, I had a wig on that was almost down to my ass. And I had a pair of foam shoes on them with the tongues in it. They must have been a size 12 or so, that big. But yet I thought I was all right. And I left out of my mother's house that night. And I thank God for that. Because that night I got busted, which was to be my last bus. And I'll never forget that bus. It was in June of '68. I got busted with some narcotics on me. And I knew that I was on a bend of either suicide or what. Because I used to drink a lot when I used drugs. And I OD'd a lot. You know, a lot of the pushers and people were scared to death of me because I was drinking that juice and shooting that drugs, and I'd fall out anyway. And then wake up wanting to know what the hell's happening. They got ice all down my drawers and all up inside me and going every kind of goddamn way. And I'd wake up scratching my head like, well, what the hell's going on? What y'all doing this to me? You know, wake up mad with attitude. They done beat the shit out of me, you know. But I was so sick, that still didn't tell me anything, right? But when I got busted in June of '68, I was so goddamn glad. In a way, I was glad to get busted. I was so out of my head. But when they took me down to the police department, they told me I had my one phone call, and I made my phone call, and I called home. And I said, Mom, I said, I'm calling to let you know that they just locked me up. And she said, thank God, bang! I thought this woman was crazy. But today, I can understand why she was saying, thank God. Because at least that's one night and one day that she didn't have to worry about her Dorine, because she knew where I was. They took me over to Women's Detention Center, and I laid over there for 8 days. Instead of me getting better, I got worse. And they took me from there over to D.C. General Hospital, which is a free hospital in D.C. They found I had a heart murmur from drinking so much and shooting drugs. And on top of that, they found I had a venereal disease that was in the first stage of syphilis. And if I stand up here tonight and if I tell you that I knew what was wrong with me and I was about to go somewhere and see about myself, I'll be telling you a goddamn lie. Because I did not know what was wrong with me and I was not about to go nowhere to see about my goddamn self. So you see, I know without a shadow of a doubt that it's only through the grace that I'm standing up here now. Because all that's in me... I'd either be a blundering idiot or I'd be a dead woman with syphilis that ate my brains up. A lot of people say, Dorine, why do you tell that gaudy story about you? You know, how can you talk about yourself? I'd rather talk about me than have any goddamn body else say it. You know, it's a lot of pain. It's a lot of pain when you get ready to deal to get that shit up out of you. It ain't easy. Today I was upstairs in the meeting. It was on the 4th, 5th, and 6th. And every time it was talking, Bob, bless his heart, it was talking about that, taking that inventory. And then sitting down and talking with somebody else about it. You understand me? Then getting into them big stretches to begin to work on. I was up in home. Because I know what you're going to have to go through with in order to get to that shit, you know. I stayed over that jail and I come out. And a lot of people ask me today, they said, Dorine, how did you do your thing? What made you stop? How did you begin? I cannot say verbatim how I began to stop. All I knew is when I came out of there that I wanted a better way of life. But how was I going to get this better way of life? Here I'm uneducated, unskilled, you understand me? Don't know which way to turn, but I want a different life. How was I going to get a different life? I did not know. And here again, my high power stepped in and just grabbed me on by the waist and just shoved me. At that time, they didn't have no methadone clinics in D.C. They didn't have therapeutic centers set up in D.C. They didn't have anything really for the addict in D.C. And I always talk like I say I got mine in the war. And it was the war. Because I had to go through so many interviews and not knowing what I was going through with. And I remember for a year, I did not even take a drink of alcohol, not even drink a beer. And I remember the changes that I was going through inwardly. You know how your stomach get all balled up in knots and then you don't know whether you're doing right or whether you're doing wrong or what's really going. I thought I was losing my mind. And I was looking at people, and people was looking at me, and I was trying to say something to somebody, and they was trying to say something to me, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. But they started opening up a clinic for addicts. They wasn't giving out methadone. And I started going to this clinic because I was scared. I was frightened to death. Like I said, uneducated, unskilled, not knowing which way to turn or which way to go. I was scared to death because I didn't know but one thing, and I was back out there on that corner, and I know I did not want that corner. And I didn't want to go home. Got to them squares, other people didn't know what I was going through. Well, how could they understand me? I didn't want to go home. So I started going to this clinic. And I used to see this man take this woman in the office all the time and talk to her, for an hour, and she'd come out. And I used to just sit in that clinic, just sit there. And one day when he come out, I asked him, I said, "Hey, mister, is you a psychiatrist?" And he say, "No." I say, "Well, what is you then?" He said, "I'm a psychologist." I said, "Well, what the hell is that?" He said, "That's somebody like a psychiatrist, but he just deals with the mind." I said, "Well, you know who I need to talk to. Come on." And that man took me in his office. And I never forget that. He was a Italian dude. And his name was Polo. You understand me? And man, we began to sit down and talk. Hey, I ain't got to the fellowship yet, honey. You understand me? This is in the raw, I'm telling y'all. Oh, this is in the raw. I ain't know nothing but no fellowship or nothing else. And me and this man began to talk. And that brought that back to me this morning when I was sitting up in the room when they was doing the fourth and the fifth step. I remember how me and that man used to get in there, we used to wrestle, And he used to try to get that shit out of me and get me to talk about shit, and I'd talk so much. You know how we don't ever want nobody to know so bad, Just a little bit, not too much, you understand me? And just enough, you understand me? And I remember how I used to always come out and tell him how I was accused of being raped, But I never could get out the actual rape. So one day he asked me, he said, "Dorine," he said, "was you ever raped?" And I said, "What you asked me that for?" I said, "I told you I was accused of being raped." He said, "Was you ever raped?" And I started swelling up. Then I started bawling over. And I said, "Yes." And that's when it all started flowing out of me. Like I don't know what. I began to tell him about that actual rape. And from then on, here again, I'm still in raw. I ain't running to the fellowship yet, And this is like, a lot of us addicts will go from drugs to alcohol. And that's what I did. I started taking me a little taste, drinking a little here, drinking a little there. Then my alcoholism began to start building up on me, progressing on me. And I had a job working with drug addicts, right? And a lot of these drug addicts I was working with, a lot of my peers I shot dope with and laid up with, exchanged money with, did every goddamn thing with, you understand me? And I used to tell them what they was doing to themselves. And the first thing they would say, "Bitch, I remember you then." I said, "I know goddamn what you do." And I used to have to get my head together to begin to deal with these people, And I used to have to take all kinds of stuff, from all kinds of verbal abuse. But the only thing that really calmed them feelings down in me was the alcohol that I would get hold to. And I struggled on with that. I said, "Lord, is there anything else for me to do? How can I get rid of this?" Then I was introduced to AA. That's when I first found out about the fellowship. And I went into AA fellowship. And I sit there, and I like the way people was talking. But still, the words not talking, that real down, AA meetings are beautiful. Don't get me wrong, they're fine. And that's how I started. But see, they don't get down to the nitty-gritty like the dope fiend do. That. To the nitty-gritty with all the slime and gut and shit, you have to get down in there. And like my girlfriend Carmelita was talking today, you know. I went to a meeting up at the VA hospital, and that's where they were having NA meetings. But they were just having it for the patients in the hospital. And I sit in that room one day, I said, damn, we need something like this on the outside. On the outside. So we began to start one meeting on the outside, down in the probation office. Now, to give you a little bit more, I told you that unskilled, uneducated, and everything else like I was, not knowing which way I'm going to go, how I'm going to do it. I happen to be working in the probation office right now. I happen to carry me a badge right now. I happen to walk in and out of them jails right now. I go in and say, let me in, and goddamn out there and leave, let me out. For you in this fellowship, if you just hang on in here. All you got to do is hang on in here. And you know what? It'll be all right. I always say, how would I appreciate the sunshine if it wasn't for the rain? It's got to be a little rain in my life. Today the mother can stand in the middle of a storm and just hold on. I never forget how it is getting rid of this garbage and this mess inside of you. Lord knows I done prayed a many a life. When I come into fellowship, I lost everything. Like a lot of people say, they got a lot of stuff. I lost my husband. I lost my family. I had to push every goddamn thing back and concentrate only on Dorine. Because it wasn't about Mama. It wasn't about Daddy. It wasn't about the baby, and it wasn't about the husband. It was about Dorine. You know, it's so easy when you get ready to talk about somebody else. See, I'm like hell talking about somebody else. But when you come to talk about Dorine, hold it, goddamn it, you don't know nothing but me. You the goddamn mouth closed. But I tell you, the drug addicts that I was working with, they were good for me. You don't know how much they helped me. Because they began to help me to get honest with myself. I remember how I used to sit up and tell people what I see them doing to themselves. And one fellow told me, he said, bitch, I remember I could have had you doing so-and-so to me. I said, Lord Jesus, save the day. And I looked at him, I said, you told the truth, honey. I said, speak the truth and shame the devil. I said, now that you've helped me to clear some of that shit out of me, let me help your funky ass. And it's a saying that my grandmother used to always say, speak the truth, child, and the devil shall set you free. And I began to start talking. And I began to start talking about me. And I never forget I had to go on the radio one time talking about drug addicts and drugs and things. And I felt so good and so happy about this. By this time, my son was grown. He's in high school now. And I called my mom. And that's another thing. Listen to the family. I never talk about the 12 steps, really, 12 steps. But if you listen to my story, you can hear it all. And I called my mom, and I said, Mom, you know, I was on the radio, and I was saying such thing, talking about so-and-so. She said, oh, that was nice. She said, now, you got a son getting ready to come out of high school, and we don't want to do nothing to hurt him, because he's doing all right. I said, what makes you think I would hurt him, Mom? He says, well, if you be talking about... I said, okay, thank you. I said, I'm finished talking. Bang! I hung the telephone on her. Because I never said to my mother, I never talked back to her. But I just hung the phone up on her. And all that night, I dealt with a whole lot of feeling. I could not even sleep that night. I rolled and I tossed. And I got up early the next morning and I called my mom. I said, Mom, I said, look, I want to tell you something. I want you to know that I had a very restless night last night because of you. I said, now what makes you think I would do anything to hurt that boy? I said, then another thing. How in the hell you expect me to get some out of this goddamn program if I don't put something in it? I said, when my son come home, you tell him to call me. And I'm through talking. And I hung the phone up. And I went on about my business that day. We have a saying in D.C., go on in spite of. And I had to go on, like I said. Through the storm. The pain was there. The hurt was there. And the feelings going on a whole while. And my son called me that evening and said, boy, you want to talk to me? I said, yeah, and I got to stammering and tell you about, like telling the truth and talking, about you. I said, oh, yeah, but, Dad, I want to tell you something. He said, well, what is it? So I said, hey, I just went on the radio and I was talking about some drugs. You know what he said? Hey, he said, I think that's great. They need more people like you. You know what that was? That was just like a shot. No. God damn, the mother started rising, I started going. I got on a marching pants and I started marching. And the mother started going around to the schools and everywhere just talking. And I'll never forget, he was getting ready to graduate, and he was going to be for the president, vice president or something for his senior class. And he called me and he told me about the speech he had written. He said, I want you to hear it, Dora. I said, yeah, what is it? He said, see how they sound. And he went on and saying, I'm such and such a thing, and I'm going to do so. And I said, well, baby, what you saying? They all sound nice, you know. I said, but are you sure that you can do all that you say that you can do? All them eyes that you got in there? And he said, what's wrong with him? I said, hey, you taking on too much for me, you know. I said, what about you? You know. So he said, yeah. He said, okay. And I could see his little voice dropping. I had to go past his high school the next day to talk to his principal, right? So I sit in the auditorium while it was going on with the nomination. One kid got up there, everybody went, way! The fellow walked off. And another fellow, he got up there, and I will do so-and-so, and the kids threw paper all over the place. Hey! And then Dad walked up to the microphone. He said, you know, we're going to do so-and-so. We're going to make this the best class there, so-and-so. And the kids went, yay! By that time, I had feelings. I tipped on up. I slid on out the auditorium and went through the principal's office. And I was sitting there with my back towards the door. Like I said, I was sitting in the principal's office, and I was telling her about the drugs that was up in the area and going on. And when I told her about the drugs, she said, well, we don't have that problem up here, Miss Phelps, you know. And all of a sudden I heard her say, yes, Dal, may I help you? And he says, oh, yes, we do have that problem. He said, well, Dal, what are you talking about? She says, well, that's my mother you're talking to. And when he said that, the mother did jump up and turn around. And that was beginning to give me the strength that I need to keep on doing what I had to do. I could not worry about Mama. I could not worry about my son. I couldn't worry about nobody else but Dorine. And from that day on, I've been going on in spite of. We started our NA meetings in D.C. And the mother's been working like a soldier. And this is where I come to get the strength that I need in the rooms and places like this. Like I said, I've never seen God, I've never touched him, but I've felt him right here in my heart. To me, God works through people. And when I look around this room, and y'all only know the power, do you understand what I'm saying? The power that is in this room tonight. You can have anything you want to have. You can be anything you want to be. All you got to do is jump on in there. And just keep on going. I feel good tonight. I feel damn good tonight. Because I feel like I'm a winner. And you know why I know that I'm a winner? Because y'all told me that I was a winner. I got a little friend that comes around every now and then, and he has to come around every now and then. I call him Seafoot. Oh, Seafoot, you have to watch out for him, because he'll slide up on your ass in a second. And I'll stand up. Slide up on your ass in a second. And I'll stand up and I'll talk to him. You got to get out of my way today, Seafoot, because the mother's coming on through. And there's one thing I always say, God, don't leave me in my mountains, but just give me the strength to continue to climb. And I always say, too, it's all right to stumble as long as you're stumbling forward. It's all right to make a mistake as long as you don't make the same damn mistake. It's all right to be a fool as long as you ain't the same goddamn fool. My husband's a drug addict. We had a beautiful women's meeting here today. Beautiful. My husband's a drug addict. And I love that man. He was using drugs. And I had to give that man up. And Lord knows I did not want to give my man up. But how could I love that man, say I love that man, and watch that man doing what he was doing to himself? I had to go through a whole lot of changes, and we were separated for 5 years. But you know what? Like I said, I went on through the rain, and I went on through the storm. I ain't had no man for 5 years. Y'all keep telling me how hot and behind y'all keep getting around here. I was hot in my too, but you know what I used to do? I used to go down and we got a place on 9th Street, you know, where they sell them old dirty books and shit. Yeah. I would buy me some, I'd bought my whole suitcase full of them. And go up and take me a shower, get in them meetings, and I would talk about it. Talk about it. And I had no idea that me and that man would ever be back together again. But after 5 years, my husband just celebrated his 2nd anniversary. So don't tell me what can't happen. You know, we some good fixers. We some good fixing people. But all you got to do is just leave it alone and leave it in the hands that it belongs in. And God will take care of it. My son started using drugs when he was in college. And he come out. And he come to me and he said, I just want to experiment and do it because you did it. I said, sucker, let me tell you one goddamn thing. He said, you was my mother. I said, I ain't never been no goddamn mother to you. That was painful. And the beautiful truth about it, I never was a mother to him. Because if it had not have been my mother, for my mother, no telling where that kid would have been at today. And I had to give it to him like that. And if you want to be a nasty, stinking, slimy, dope fiend, it's all right with me. Because that's your life. I'm going to do one thing for you. Get you someplace where you can get some help, and you got a mind of your own. That's been over 10 years ago. My son's standing tall as this building. And you know what? I don't take the credit for none of that. I give it all back to the God of my understanding. And people like you. So when my pigeons them come up to me and tell me what they can do and how hard it is, get back. If the mother can do it, so can you. All you got to do is just have a little faith and start believing. And when I look around in this room here, and it says somewhere in the Bible, unless I can see the goodness of the Lord amongst the land of the living, then I'll believe. Oh, good God Almighty, look at this room here. Look at this room here. If this ain't telling you something in here tonight, then I don't know what will tell you. But I thank God for you people. I thank God for my life. Because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have the life that I am. Today, my life is just comfortable. It's just beautiful. I'm not going to tell you that I don't have no, whatever the problems y'all say. I have situations and things. But you know what? I don't worry. Because I know it's going to be all right. I know it's going to be all right. And when you know, that 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 you know, you better know and ask. And I know from which I came. And it was only until I began to come into rooms like this and begin to listen to people like y'all and begin to get honest with Dorine and begin to get this garbage out of me. Only then I began to feel like I was a free woman in body, mind, and soul. So I know I've been up here over there, and I know I'm going to have to cut this off now. But I want to thank y'all for inviting me to this convention. I don't know if anybody else got anything tonight, but I goddamn sure got mine. And for the newcomer, all I can tell you is just to keep coming back. You know, don't worry about it. You know, I hear a lot of people, you know, we get so deep and we get to thinking, you know, all in the mind. Who told you to think any goddamn way? All you gotta do is just step on out there. How do I know whether I'm right or wrong until I get out there? Somebody gotta help me along. So just get on out there. And I'll say this last thing I close. I haven't got my
my GED yet. I ain't go no further than 8th grade school, and I didn't complete that. And I got a job now making $18,000 a year. I've gone to try to get my GED. I've taken it 5 times. Right? And I haven't passed it yet. But you know what? I haven't failed either. And you never fail. Even if you don't get what you want right then and there, you ain't failed nothing as long as you can try. And I want to thank y'all. Keep coming back.
If anybody is parked in front of this hotel, they're towing away the cars right now, okay? And that could be powerful on your pocket, okay? I'd like to thank Dorine, and now I know why I'm here, now I know why I'm standing here chairing this meeting. Because, you know, God works in mysterious ways, and you hear what you're supposed to hear, you know? And I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Jerry from California.
My name is Jerry. I'm a drug addict and alcoholic. I'm glad Dorine broke the ice. I'm glad they got water here, too. The throat was a little dry. I am, louder? Okay. I am very glad and very privileged to be able to speak at this convention. I left New York. I'm from New York. And I left 6 years ago. And when I left, I got on a Greyhound bus. This is when you could go any place in the country for $59, right? And there was no buses to Hawaii, and I went to California. I left here with 2 warrants, 6 Placidil, 4 packs of Pall Malls, what was left of my welfare check, and 4 pints of Sigmund 7. Right? And most of it was gone by the time I got to Philadelphia. Right? And he carried cigarettes, and it was a long ride. And I was kicking methadone habit. I came back on a jet plane with a woman that I'm going to marry, feeling good, 4.5 years of sobriety, credit cards in my pocket. You know, and I stepped off the plane, and my sister was here to meet me, and that was a good experience, although it turned into a bad one, which is what I'm going to talk about, or at least in part. Like I said, I haven't been back here in 6 years, and one thing that's been bothering me, though, I must know, I don't know, thousands of dope fiends in New York City, right? And I haven't seen one dope fiend here that I know from the street. And a friend of mine who's sitting over there to my left, Charlie, says, well, your school, they're probably all dead, man. They're not around no more, man. And that might be true, I don't know. I haven't seen everybody at the convention here, but I was looking to hopefully meet somebody that I knew from the street. I have some people here from California that came, and I'm grateful for that. I know there's people here that love me, my sponsors here. And I just feel good to be up here. You know, I don't think there's any, I definitely know there's no place in Manhattan where there's 1,120 dope fiends clean at the same time. I know that, you know. But like I said, I left here, I had to get out of Dodge quick, and I did. And I believe if God wanted me in jail, I'd be in jail now. But I'm not. I'm standing up here, and I work in jails too, or I have worked in jails, like Dorine. And I'm going on to law school. I went through college in sobriety. I came in with no education, nothing. I didn't have. I got my high school diploma in the Department of Corrections. All right, one of them jailhouse things. And I think I'm pretty damn lucky, and I'm doing good. And it's only through God that I'm here, you know. But what happened was, and I think that it's important for me to talk about this because it relates to how I was taught about God when I was a kid. I have, my family's dead, but I have a brother and I have a sister, right? And I haven't seen my brother yet. I'm going to see him Sunday. But I came home and I went to my sister's house and I got into an argument. I was a half hour late for dinner and she blew up in a restaurant. I didn't say nothing. Her kid was there. It was a restaurant. I acted like a gentleman. But I made a decision. I said, hey, listen, you know what? I'll spend the rest of my time at a hotel. Okay? You live your life and I'll live mine. And the next day, I went to Pennsylvania and I came back to get my suitcase and stuff, right? And her husband, who was a priest, right? Fell in love with her and then left church and got me to be married about 10 years, right? He came out while I was putting the suitcase in the car, right? And he said, you know what? He said, I had to take your sister to the hospital because she almost had a heart attack. She had high blood pressure. And it's your fault. You killed your mother. That's what she told me when she was dying in the hospital. My son killed me. He said to me, your father told me the same thing. My son killed me. You stole your sister's jewelry. You stole the coats, everything out of the house. You know what? God's going to punish you. All right? I said, listen, you know what? And it's through the fellowship I was able to do this. I said, the God that I know don't punish. The God that I know loves me all the time, man. He's not there to punish me. He says, don't you think you owe society for all the stuff that you stole, all the things that you did? And I said, well, you know what? No, not really. I said, we have an immense step, and if I'm financially able sometime, well, then I'll do it. But right now I'm not. And I help people. I work in the drug program. I help people. And I didn't feel guilty at all. But I did feel fucked up about what he told me about my family. I thought to myself, God, man, this guy was a priest, and I don't understand, because that's the old thing that I was taught when I was a kid, that God would punish you, and you have to do this and you have to do that. And I drove up to Connecticut, and I could hardly drive the car. My mind was just going around and around and around. And I said to Barbara, I said, I got to talk about this Friday night because it's bothering me. And it was. And it is to a degree now. I don't know what to do about it. I just, except I spoke to God about it and I said, hey, listen, you got to take this from me because, I don't want to do something stupid. And, I come out of my neck fast. And I don't like to do that. I almost did it in that restaurant with my sister. But, so after this meeting, if anybody's got any suggestions or anything, any help or anything, I'll be glad to accept it. But, I came into Narcotics Anonymous. They didn't have it here when I left. I went to 2 AA meetings on Rikers Island. If you don't know, that's one of our little resorts here. That was in 77. And it didn't take. I just went there to get out of the dorm and just to do something. And I went to California in 78. And I bummed around, and I got dope, and I drank wine, and I ended up in detoxes. Same thing I did in New York all my life. My whole life, I took from people. I never gave nothing to nobody. It was always me. Anyway, I was in a detox, and I met this guy. He was from New York, and he was working there. It was Miankas. And he said, listen, have you ever heard of Narcotics Anonymous? And I said, no, I heard of AA, right? And that didn't, at that time, didn't really set with me that well. But when he said Narcotics Anonymous, I thought, well, let me check this out. And right, I'm a dope fiend, let me go and see. But my idea was not to go there for help. It was to go there and take something from you people. Get an old lady, con somebody out of something, bullshit somebody. The same old Jerry. That attitude that I had all my life, I brought right into Narcotics Anonymous. And there are people here that know, that saw me when I came in. And I did come in here with a bad attitude, you know. And let me say something else, man, that I think is important. I think that attitude was partly attributable to the fact that I spent almost 4 years in TCs, serious TCs, rigid ones, you know? And what I got out of that time was that I knew all the answers, all right? I knew everything. I had heard people share. I had sat through marathons and thousands of encounter groups, right? And I thought I knew all the answers, man. And I thought I could tell people how to live. Just ask me, I'll tell you. And that's what I brought in here, man. And it wasn't easy. I came to my first meeting. This guy brought me to my first meeting. And it was a Friday night meeting, and it was a birthday meeting. And I met some people, and you know what? I felt comfortable. I felt security in myself, which was to diminish as time went on. And I went to a couple of meetings, and at one of these meetings, this may not seem important, but it was crucial to me. We were saying the Lord's Prayer at the end of the meeting, right? And for some reason, I ended up saying the Lord's Prayer backwards, or I was holding hands backwards. And there was a table behind me, and there was these two girls, and they were sitting on the table. And they started to laugh, right? Now, I don't know if they were laughing at me, but I thought that they were. And that's all I needed. And that was the end of that meeting, right? I was in a recovery house at the time. I started going to other meetings, but not that one. And then I went up to this other girl, and I said, hi, how you doing? And I was clean about a month, or I don't know, 6 weeks or something like that. And I don't know, I guess she was kind of the snobbish kind, and she didn't say nothing, right? Bang, my feelings were hurt again, right? And that was the end of that meeting, right? I stayed away from meetings for 9 months. I went maybe 1 or 2, and I stayed clean out of defiance. My attitude was, you know what? Fuck these people. I will do it my way, and I will stay clean. Right? And I did for 9 months. But what happened was I was in a recovery house, and I ended up in a relationship in that program with this woman. And it went on for a while, and I was doing okay, until she started chipping around with pills. And she started stealing from the store she was in. And there was another guy in this program too, in a recovery house. And he came into the program with some money and some speed. And she and him walked out the door. But before they did it, I had to sit there and eat in the mess hall and watch the two of them. And I was totally humiliated, right? And people were looking at me, or at least I thought they were, like I was a fool. And I got mad. I was going to stab the kid with an ice pick and everything, and it was a bad scene. And what happened was, that incident forced me back to meetings. I knew that I didn't want to go back to the street, and I knew that I didn't want to shoot any dope. And I was feeling a lot of pain. And I took a bus one night, and I was going to a meeting, and it was closed. And I took the bus back, and it brought me back to that same meeting that that friend of mine had brought me to. From then on, I have went to meetings. I'm not going to say that I've been any paragon of virtue and sobriety, because I haven't. I've done a lot of things. I went through a stealing trip where I had a job, and it lasted 18 months. And for that 18 months, I took something every week. Right? It was impossible for me to get caught. Almost impossible. And I didn't. Eventually, I got fired. Right? For not being there. But Narcotics Anonymous has helped me and has given me a new life. Right? Like I say, when I left here, in no way did I think that I'd be back here 6 years later, talking to a room full of dope fiends about myself and being clean. I mean, I shot dope for 17 years, right? I was on 10 different methadone programs, all through therapeutic communities, stabbed, shot, laying in the gutter, the whole thing. And here I am now, with a life that I'm proud of. I'm doing something that I think will benefit me and benefit other people. Everything I've learned in AA has been trial and error. I don't take orders easy. People tell me to do things, I don't like to do them. My attitude is not always good. A lot of times it's bad. I live in a bad area, but still, I've maintained my sobriety. I care about myself. I trust God with my life, which is something that I could not do before, because I always felt that God didn't want anything to do with me, that I was something less than, you know? I was not the type of person that God would look down on and help, because I was a bad person, because of the things that I did in my life. Now I can stand here, I can tell people that I love them, that I care about them. I couldn't do that before. As I was listening to Dorine, I was thinking about my life and a lot of things that happened, things that I've been ashamed of, things that I haven't talked about, but I know it's going to be okay. I know that whatever I do, God is with me. You know, I drove over to Staten Island today, and I wanted to see this friend of mine, a woman that I had known, that I had been in programs with, that I had shot dope with, and she's on methadone. And I thought maybe I could get her to come over here to the convention, right? And she told me, she said, listen, meet me in the park, right? I said, okay, I'll be on the Bayside side of the park, which is the part where there's not a lot of fucking dope and a lot of dope fiends running around, right? Remembering that I still have some legal problems here. Anyway, I went over there, right? She didn't show. I got Barbara and I drove around the park in my car that I came here and rented from Avis, right? And I see her. I beat the horn and I pulled up and I said, come on over here, right? And I think she thought I was a cop or something, but so I parked the car, I got out of the car, I said, come here, Pam. And in the excitement, I locked my keys in the car, right? I locked my keys, so here I am in this park, right? With this girl, right? And there's dope fiends walking up and down, right? I got the keys locked in the car. How am I going to get in the car, right? I don't want the police to come by and say, well, who are you, right? Let me see your driver's license, let me see your registration, blah, 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 right? So I walk across the street, I try and call up Avis, I can't get them on the phone, I get some fool, he gives me the wrong number. She gets some guy and says, listen, just get a coat hanger, and we'll stick it in there, we'll open the car. I said, listen, I'm not going near the car at all. I don't want to go near the car, right? I walk around the corner, some guy told me that there was an Avis rental place about 5 blocks away. So I start walking up, I walked up 3 blocks, no Avis place, I got disgusted and I turned around and I came back, right? In the meantime, she's there with the hanger. She opens the car. Who drives up but the police?
All right? I wasn't there. I was across the street. That's God. The cop says to her, "Can I help you? Can I help you open the car?" She's a blonde. She looks okay, right? And she says, no thanks. So when I got back there, the car was open. Needless to say, I got out quick. She says, "Why don't you stay and hang out for a while, right?" I says, "No, Pam." I says, "No, let me get out of here. Now, fast, right?" But I don't know. See, if I was there and them cops came by, maybe I wouldn't be up here tonight. You know? But it's, you know, at the beginning it's been hard. It was hard for me to trust God. You know? Because of the way I lived. And the things that I did. And a lot of the feelings that I felt about myself. I just couldn't do that. I didn't want to do it. You know? I stayed alone a lot, man. And when I got on methadone in 69, and I started taking them Tunols, and I started drinking that wine, and I got myself in a lot of trouble, man. A lot of trouble. But I know that God is with me now. I believe that. I still do a lot of things on my own. I still can get really crazy. You know, I get angry. Sometimes I yell at people. And sometimes they yell at me. But I feel it in my heart, man, that I'm in the right place. And that there are people here that really care about me. But most of all, I care about myself. And I could never do that before, you know? I always shot down myself. I never had anything good to say about Jerry. And, you know, when I came in the fellowship, it was like, you know, I saw a Woody Allen movie, and at the beginning of the Woody Allen movie, he says, "I wouldn't belong to any club that would have me as a member." Huh? And I said, yeah, that's the way I felt, you know. Guru of insanity, man, you know. But I'm here now. I'm proud to be a member of Narcotics Anonymous, and I'm so glad that it's in New York. You know, I'm so glad that it's in New York, because I've been here for 2 weeks, and I've been driving around and running around and doing a lot of things. Actually, I've been acting like a tourist. I took the boat that went around Manhattan, and, you know, and I went on the Empire State Building and stuff, and I never did none of that stuff. You know, I'm going to the museums and with a camera, and, you know, cab driver tried to get slick on me today and everything, you know. I was going to say to him, "Don't you know I come from here? Don't be doing that, you know." But I feel good about myself. And I really feel good about seeing my brother. You know, my brother said to me, I finally got in touch with him. I hadn't seen him in 6 years. He says, I didn't even know you in California. I've been here for 6 years, man. Right? And, but I'm going to see him Sunday. And I'm really looking forward to that, you know, because this program saved my life. I told him, I said, there's 1,000 dope fiends, clean dope fiends in the World Trade Center. He said, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, man. Serious, man. Really." This program works, you know, and I think that I had to get here the way I had to get here. You know, like I said, I've been in a lot of institutions and a lot of drug programs, and them TCs really, not that they're bad or anything, but they really screwed my mind around, you know. Especially back in the 60s, I was in Synanon for a couple of years, and I took all that information and I really used it. People that have been there know what I'm talking about, or any other TC, I think. I took all that information and I used it in a negative way. I used it against myself. That's how I used to defend myself, by destroying myself, you know. I'd lay in the street, I'd lay in the gutter, and I'd do whatever I had to do. You know, one of my last hustles was going around to hospitals and stealing shit out of people's rooms. They're dying, right, with legs up and things and everything, right? And I'm taking their radio, jump chains out of the drawers, and, you know,
stealing coats from funeral parlors. I'm not your classic wheeling, dealing dough fiend, you know. I'm the greasy one on the corner, just waiting for somebody. But I still have a long way to go, and I think I'll have a long way to go for the rest of my life, you know. But I know that God's with me. As fucked up as I get sometimes, and I get crazy, man, you know. Sometimes I pass a wino and I get jealous, man. You ain't got to pay telephone bills. You ain't got to do this, man. You know. And I've even thought at times that if I knew the first 2 years of sobriety what I knew the second 2 years of sobriety, I don't know if I'd be here. I don't know, man. You know, I just I get funny sometimes, man. But it's like I know now that it's too late to go back. I couldn't do that anymore, you know. And I believe that. And I'm really glad that NA is in New York City, because I spilled a lot of blood on 14th Street and some other areas, and I went through a lot of pain here. And but you know what? Through all that stuff, man, I've got to the point where I am now. And people like me do not become lawyers. That only I know, I think, and God knows how completely ridiculous that is. I mean, that is totally, completely out of, context, man. That is, absurd. But here I am, and I'm on my way. And you know what? And I think that if that's what God wants for me, that's what'll happen. And I'm not worried, like Dorine said, I'm not worried about what's going to happen, because I know that God is with me. And all my life, man, I was alone, and I was afraid, because I really felt bad about myself. I really felt like I was a bad person, man, and that no one wanted me. And my whole life has changed now. And it's only because of this fellowship and you people. And I want to thank you all for listening to me and having me up here speak at this convention. Thank you, and God bless you.
That's what this program's done for me. It's helped me to feel good about myself today, and Jerry helped me remind me that, because today I know I'm trying to do the right things. I'd like to share an experience with Jerry, and I might as well share it with everybody else. That a few months ago, I was away on a retreat, and priests wouldn't give me whatever they call it, resolution, absolution, that's it. That's the word. Thank you very much. I will. He wouldn't give me absolution, and it kind of blew me away. And the reason he wouldn't give me absolution is because I was living with a girl, and this was a girl that I was going to get married to, and that I'm engaged to now. And and I went up there on this retreat with all these good intentions, of doing all these things. And when the priest told me he wouldn't give me absolution, I got very upset, and I thought that he was all screwed up, and then I thought that the church was screwed up, and what's the matter with these people? Don't they understand? And I talked to my sponsor, about it later when I'd come back, and he told me that I got to look at the source of where it came from, and that even though he's a priest, he's only a human being, and not everybody understands the disease. Not everybody can understand where I'm coming from. But deep inside today, I know that I was trying to do the right thing, and that, the reasons that I went there were good, and the way I'm living my life today are good, and I feel good about me today, and so I just take that from where it came from, and I let it go, because he's not the God of my understanding, and so what he says, and it upsets me, I just have to let it go, and I'm not going to give him space in my head. And he told me also to pray for him, that he might understand people like me. And with that, I got one more announcement, that there are brunch tickets for sale, and there's a limited amount left. And the brunch is going to be Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. You can purchase them at the registration desk tomorrow between 10 and 12 or 3 and 5. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody here. And could we form a circle and close with the Lord's Prayer?